What's going on, everyone? It's the Fantasy Football Almanac. We now have 3 days till football starts. This feels amazing. We're launching into the puppy 4. They put out another puppy before the season starts. So happy to hear it. I'm actually so glad. So you can hop in a couple more of these $5 drafts before the season officially begins. Anyways, we got pick 2. We got Christian McCaffrey. Cannot be mad about that at all. Christian McCaffrey, one of the best players in the NFL, if not the best running back in the entire NFL. Definitely the running back with the highest upside, so I am very glad to get him here. But anyways, guys, if you do like these best ball videos, if you guys do want content throughout the entire NFL season helping you guys win your fantasy championships, please subscribe to the Fantasy Football Almanac. Would mean the world to me. Turn that notification bell on. Like and comment. Would mean the absolute world to me. Thank you guys so much. With that out of the way, we got a pretty standard draft so far. We got the 3 wide receivers out of the way, the top 3 guys far and away. Then we got the top 3 running backs here, or the next tier of 3 running backs, and the top 2 running backs here. The reason why I love drafting so much at pick 1 or 2 is you can really go with a hero RB strategy, right? Like, I don't need to take another running back for a super duper long time. I could take another running back at pick 71, at pick 74, and not be worried at all. Here at 23, I'm kind of hoping for Mark Andrews, because I think Mark Andrews is kind of a positional value where he's going, and if I could pair that up with another great player like a Debo or someone like that, that would be absolutely phenomenal. Maybe an A.J. Brown, maybe a Mike Evans, a Nick Chubb, T. Higgins even. T. Higgins, a guy dropping a little bit in these drafts, and I can't really understand why. I think he's a phenomenal player, so I'm fine getting him out of value there. He should not be the wide receiver 12, in my opinion. But anyways, guys, we are really hoping to get either a tight end here or a good wide receiver. There can potentially be some value falling to us, whether that be in Javonte Williams, whether that be Deebo Samuel, Mark Andrews, any of these 3 guys. If we do get a reach or 2, and we do right here, A.J. Brown coming off the board, that is reach number 1. So that means we might be able to get one of these 3 players. It means we might even be able to get 2 of these 3 players. That's really the hope. Saquon Barkley coming off the board. If I am faced with the choice between, let's say, Debo and Mark Andrews, I am going to go Debo because I feel like Mark Andrews can fall further, whereas Debo, that's pretty much the floor. And I'm fine with that. We got Travis Kelce and Saquon Barkley coming off the board. We just need 1 or 2 more reaches here, and we should be absolutely chilling. Joe Mixon still on the board at pick 16, a little bit surprising here. Don't usually see him going that low. Stephon Diggs and Mixon would be a pretty interesting combination. This guy may elect to go CD Lamb here, though. Is entirely possible, and he does, actually. Wow. CD Lamb's still a great pick here, but there are 7 players that I really like on the board, and we are 6 picks away, so we're now 5 picks away. I know there's 1 less player, but I'm fine with any of these 5 guys here. Oh, actually, no. Do the math a little bit askew, a little wrong here. We just need 1 more reach, whoever it may be. Honestly, it'd be great if there were 2 more reaches, 3 more reaches. I want Nick Chubb off this board. I want Kyle Pitts off this board. Can we get Kyle Pitts off this board here? Kyle Pitts, a guy absolutely soaring up this board. I mean, it's not really hard to see why Kyle Pitts is an absolute monster, but at the same time, I just can't justify taking him over Mark Andrews here. We do have Deebo Samuel off the board. I mean, I would even be fine with Tyreek here, realistically. I think Tyreek does have an insane ceiling and is a guy who's been falling quite a fair amount. I'm fine with either of these guys, though. Any of these 3, I would be absolutely fine with. We do have Mark Andrews off the board here. I guess I would prefer Javonte slightly. Actually, I don't know. I probably would prefer... No, I would prefer Javonte, I think. But we'll see what this guy does. I mean, he does have Jamar Chase, so potentially... He does go Leonard Fournette here. We are going to go Javonte, and the reason we're going Javonte over Tyreek is because I still think we can get Nick Chubb here. I still think we can get... I mean, Tyreek Hill could even fall to us in the next round. But let's say we do go 3 RBs here. Let's say we go Nick Chubb, Javonte, and Christian McCaffrey. We don't have to take a running back for the entire rest of the draft. I mean, we literally would just rock with these 3 running backs here. And that's what we're going to do. Actually, I could go Kyle Pitts. I could go Pitts, but we're not going to do that. We're going to take Nick Chubb here. I have never done this from this position. We're going to be taking 3 running backs this entire draft, which allows us the flexibility to take 3 quarterbacks, which allows us to take flexibility to take 3 tight ends, to take 10 wide receivers. This team is really interesting, Because the thing is, I mean, these three players are all we need at the running back position. Maybe we go out in like the last round and we take, I don't know, Donta Foreman or someone like that, or Khalil Herbert. But realistically, I mean, there's a lot of teams right here with two running backs, a lot of teams with no running backs here. So running backs will probably be coming off the board a bit earlier, especially now that I push Nick Chubb up a tiny bit here. Not a strategy I generally go for, but I think Nick Chubb's a phenomenal player. Javonte Williams has an insane ceiling, so I'm fine getting him. And Christian McCaffrey's Christian McCaffrey, enough said. So I am absolutely fine here. Let me know down in the comments below if you think this is a little bit of a crazy strategy. I understand thinking it is. It definitely, I mean, it definitely is not the most rational, most sane strategy, but I'm okay with that. I think you don't need a strategy to be sane. I think it just needs to work, and this strategy could work. I mean, we have our flex already locked up. I think this team is really, really strong. Now we just have to hope wide receiver value can fall to us, which it looks like it is falling a little bit. T. Higgins coming off the board at pick 32 here. So we just need these wide receivers to be falling a tiny bit. Whether we end up with Hollywood Brown as our wide receiver one, Juju, Deontay, any of these guys, I'm fine with. I would say, I mean, I could even make a case to take George Kittle here, realistically in the next round, possibly. Because I think with George Kittle, we do want a tight end. And in the last draft, I actually had pick one, and I made the mistake of going back-to-back wide receiver here, which I think was a mistake, whereas I think I should have gone Kittle just for positional need. Because in the next round, I mean, I still have Lazard on the board. I still have Trey Lance on the board potentially. So I think here the best option to go with is wide receiver tight end. And that's most likely what I'm going to be doing. If both Juju, Deontay, and George Kittle are on the board, I'm probably going to be taking George Kittle first here out of these guys because I do think it is more important to secure that positional value. Because, I mean, if this guy goes tight end here, we're just shit out of luck. Whereas if we go tight end and prevent him from going tight end, we can take tons of wide receivers there on the way back, whether it be Hollywood, whether it be Juju, whether it be Deontay, Chris Godwin, any of these guys I would realistically be fine with. So that's where kind of I'm leaning right now. We are 8 picks away. Jalen Waddle comes up the board. Allen Robinson, notably still on the board, potentially due to concerns of Matt Stafford's elbow. But I think, I mean, I think it is possible you should have to worry about it a little bit. I mean, an injury is an injury. It's the NFL. But at the same time, I think it's absolutely worth taking a risk on a guy like Allen Robinson here. If he does make it back to me, I would be ecstatic. I mean, there's 5 wide receivers on the board that I wouldn't really like Terry McLaurin, to be honest, or Jerry Jeudy at this point. Maybe I would go Jeudy here, though. Maybe I would, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. We are 4 picks away now. We just need somebody, or maybe 2 people to reach on a quarterback here. Not reach, even. I mean, it's a fine pick. But if we can get Lamar off the board, this guy does have Mark Andrews. One of these 2 dudes has Mark Andrews. So, but he also has Josh Allen. So never mind. I take it back. This is a pretty interesting team combination because it's like you have a positional advantage every position except for one. We got A.J. Dillon off the board here. That is huge for us. This guy has 3 wide receivers right here, so it is also possible he needs to take another position here, whether he goes with Lamar, Mahomes, any of these guys. We'll see. We don't know necessarily yet, but we shall see. Even Terry McLaurin, I mean, that would be nice to get him off the board here. This guy could go Breece Hall. He goes Jerry Jeudy. Okay, that's fine. I'm really hoping Juju makes it back to us, but at the same time, fine if he doesn't, because we still have Deontay Johnson on the board. Deontay Johnson, a guy who's been falling a little bit. I think it's kind of fair, I guess, but not really. I don't know. I'm not a fan of seeing Deontay fall as much as he has. I mean, this is a guy who's going to have 1,100 yards. He's pretty good. I mean, Deontay Johnson, we've seen the talent at a pretty high level, so I think Deontay Johnson is kind of a steal where he's going right now. Breece Hall comes up the board here. We are going to go George Kittle. Realistically, I think George Kittle is the move. And then I'm fine. I think Juju and Deontay are like the same to me. They're both pretty similar in my eyes. So as long as he doesn't take both, I think we are good. And even if he does take both, I mean, Chris Godwin's fine. I could go Lamar here, Mahomes. But we are probably going to be ending up with Deontay Johnson. I think Juju will be off the board. But here we do have a really good team balance here. I mean, it's not a balanced roster, I'll say that much. He does go Pat Mahomes, meaning we do get Deontay Johnson, which I'm absolutely fine with. So we do have a pretty more balanced than you would expect for going RB the first 3 rounds. We are going to need to fill out this wide receiver position, but that's why I was kind of looking at this right here, thinking we could get Trey Lance and what's his name? Why am I totally blanking on this dude? Alan Lazard here, the Lizard King. Um, so we can kind of bypass Chase Edmonds here, even though I would love to go Chase Edmonds here. I love Chase Edmonds. We just don't need him with the team combination that we have. And then we could go Lazard. We could even go Schultz here and just finish up a tight end, and then we really just need to hammer down quarterback. But I think Trey Lance is ultimately the pick. Quarterbacks have been falling a little bit in this draft, so there is a tiny potential. I think it's pretty much non-existent, but there is a little bit of potential. Jalen Hurts falls to us at pick 71. Odds are really low, but they're there. So if that happens, I mean, I'm scooping them up every time. I'm scooping them up instantly. That would just make my day. I mean, that would make me so happy here. Jalen Hurts, my most owned quarterback in these leagues here. I love Jalen Hurts so much. I think he's an absolute steal where he's going. Even as the quarterback 5, I mean, I was drafting him all over when he was the quarterback 6. I was drafting him all over when he was the quarterback 7 behind Joe Burrow. I mean, that just didn't make sense to me. I think people early on did not weigh the rushing upside nearly as highly. Same thing with Trey Lance here. Trey Lance, a guy who's falling a bit because people are worried Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the starter, and that's just not the case. But if you guys are enjoying this video, please go down, leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Again, it would really mean the world to me. Love each and every single one of you guys. Would mean the world to me. So thank you guys so much. Turn that notification bell on so you can dominate your league mates. With that out of the way, though, we are back. We're probably... I mean, I'm eyeing up Lazard here. I think this round, usually there's a huge run on tight ends, and then in round 6, there's tons of running backs coming off the board. Whether that be David Montgomery, Cam Akers, Dameon Pierce, J.K. Dobbins, all these guys come off at around the same time. Chase Edmonds as well, I think, is starting to be lumped into this group, which is a little bit painful for me. But I already have my Chase Edmonds shares, so I'm absolutely fine with it, to be 100% honest. I'll let him soar up in value now. A guy I still really like drafting where he is, though. But the Lizard King, Alan Lazard here. Uncertain for week 1. Oh, no. Come on, man. Came out an hour ago. I mean, I think I'll be fine. But you never know. That means Romeo Dobbs might be sorting out these boards even a little bit more than he already is, which is crazy. Watkins, same thing. Randall Cobb, same thing. But I still think Lazard's an absolute value where he's going here. I don't care if he doesn't play week 1. I don't need him for week 1. I need him for week 17. Dameon Pierce coming off the board here, that's just crazy to me. I mean, yes, he's a starting running back. Yes, there are questions about some of these other running backs, but I would rather have David Montgomery straight up in a vacuum. I mean, this guy already has the production, already was the RB4 on a season, and now gets a new, better coaching staff who used him in preseason like he was the starting back. He got 91% of the starting snaps, which is very similar to the amount of starting snaps he got in the regular season. So I'm not worried about David Montgomery's production. People are, and that's why he's falling as low as he is. I think he's a steal where he's going right now. I mean, I think it's kind of embarrassing how low people are on David Montgomery this season. Don't really understand it. I would love to take him, but we already have 3 great running backs, so I just can't. I can't justify it. Somebody will take him here, though, I imagine. Mooney off the board here. I mean, let's get this Cam Akers. Come on, let's get these guys off the board here. Come on, please. That's what we need. I mean, this guy's got no running backs yet, so I'm assuming he goes back here because you just kind of have to. I mean, both these guys have no running backs, so I assume they got to go backs here. This guy's only got 1 as well, so I'm assuming he'll take at least 1 on the way there, way back. And this guy already does have a quarterback, which is nice, because it means we can afford to wait to take Trey Lance at 74 and take Alan Lazard, pretty much. That's the way I look at it. No! All right, so Alan Lazard is off the board. We are going to be taking probably Ayuk then. Ayuk is off the board as well. Honestly, there's too much running back value on the board here. There's too much RB value for me to pass up on, even though I really don't want to have to take a running back here. I think the positional value here is too much. So we are going to go Montgomery here, most likely, even though I do really like Chase Edmonds. J.K. Dobbins is off the board. I think Montgomery is where I start to rank him above Chase Edmonds. Just because I think Montgomery, really, really stable back with also high upside as well. Christian Kirk's off the board. We're going to Trey Lance here. So now, realistically, we have our quarterback done. I love this stack with George Kittle and Trey Lance. I think it's one of the best stacks you can get. One of my favorite stacks, one of my most owned stacks in the entire thing. Because they're stacks you're not getting, like Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce, you have to pay up for that. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, you have to pay up for that. Mark Andrews and Lamar, you have to pay up for that. George Kittle and Trey Lance, you don't have to pay up for nearly as much. I mean, I'm getting George Kittle at the end of round 4 and Trey Lance at the beginning of round 7. Like that's not paying up. Whereas for Pat Mahomes, beginning of round 5, end of round 4, generally. Travis Kelce, you have to pay up with a first round pick here. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, you have to pay up with a first and a third round pick. Tons of people have these stacks, so I think if you're getting them at a slight value, it's okay. But if you're not getting value on the stack, there's no point. Whereas with these, I mean, I'm fine taking them at ADP. I'm 100% fine with taking them at ADP. Here we do have 4 running backs, though, so we are not taking a running back for the entire rest of the draft. There's just no way around it. Even, I don't care. I don't care if Kareem Hunt is sitting there waiting for us at pick 200. We are not going running back. This range is kind of shitty at wide receiver, though. I mean, we can get Olave, we can get Amari Cooper, Kadarius Toney potentially, which would be fine. I think Amari Cooper's kind of a value, especially if I get him at 95. I mean, Amari Cooper's a value there, but it is a little bit concerning. We could even go tight end, round out our tight end room here, and then just pray to God we get some decent wide receivers. Because, I mean, everything else is a strength to our roster. Besides wide receivers, Deontay Johnson, not necessarily a strength. I don't think many people would consider this man a strength at the position. I mean, he's a low-end wide receiver. I would say middle-of-the-pack wide receiver, too. But the problem is he doesn't have that upside of somebody like Juju, of someone like Marquise Brown, Allen Robinson. You know exactly what Deontay Johnson's going to be. And Deontay Johnson's going to be a very, very above average wide receiver. Probably finish within the top 12, but he doesn't have wide receiver 1 in his range of outcomes. Or a top 5 wide receiver in his range of outcomes. Whereas a lot of the other guys do. So that's why he's pretty low down on these boards here. We could go with someone like Dak. We could go with someone like Tom Brady here. And also just build up insane stacks. Not stacks. Just build up like insane everything except for a wide receiver here. Because there's a lot of wide receivers I like late. I mean, there's just so many you could take late. I mean, whether it be Romeo Doubs, John Dotson, Isaiah McKenzie, all these guys I like. Jacoby Myers. There's so many wide receivers I like late, whereas other positions, it's a lot harder to roster these guys late. We do have Dallas Goedert still on the board here as well. If I were to go with a position, I mean, it would just be Amari Cooper. Most likely. We do have a ton of week 9 buys, which kind of sucks, but what can you do? I'm not going to not draft a guy because they have a week 9 buy. This also kind of stinks. We want to see these guys start coming off the board. We need these running backs to start really pouring off here. We do. It is a little painful. Take Josh Jacobs, man. Sometimes this happens, though. I mean, sometimes there's just wide receiver haven, and you just kind of get a little bit screwed at the position here. But we most likely will be getting Dallas Goedert here if he does fall to us, which I would be fine with. And then MVS I'm also fine with here, most likely. But we just clear out 2 positions here, which means we only need 2 more positions. And realistically, we only need 1 more quarterback. So we're just going to be hammering wide receivers the rest of the draft, which I kind of like to do sometimes. I do. It's like a fine thing. And Dallas Goedert, I mean, a guy I do like, especially a 10-pick value. I'm totally fine taking Dallas Goedert here. Now, I mean, I'm fine going MVS. Guy's a deep ball threat. I'm absolutely fine with that. Who else would I even consider here? Gallup would be the only other guy I'd consider. Rondell Moore could be interesting, but I think MVS is kind of being a little undervalued here. And a guy, they signed him to a fair amount of money. Money speaks, money talks. Not a guy I like as my wide receiver too, but at the end of the day, I like everything else about my team, so fine. Trying to get value later, whether that be through Romeo Doubs, Michael Gallup, Rondell Moore. But all I know is that we most likely cannot afford to be taking a quarterback here in the next round, unless Stafford falls to us or someone like that. Actually, we could afford to go quarterback here, and then we literally just close out the rest of our tab with wide receivers and wide receivers, wide receivers. which is kind of fine, honestly. I think it'll be a little bit painful some weeks at the wide receiver position, but it does mean that our ceiling is really, really high. Our floor, yes, it's going to be low. We're going to need to hit on these guys, but I mean, you're going to have that with a lot of teams. Oh, my philosophy with team building generally is to build a team with, let's say, strength at three positions, two if I'm unlucky, strength at least two positions, and then glaring weaknesses at another. Like if that's the way I can build my team, I'm fine with that because I think you can make up those weaknesses at wide receiver later in the draft potentially with a gamble. But I like to take value where it comes. I think value is everything in a draft, pretty much. I mean, if you can get value in a draft like this, that's what matters because what you're going for here is unique team combinations. And if you have a unique team combination, I imagine some people probably have this team combo. Honestly, a fair amount of people do. Uh, but once you get to Deontay, probably not, because Deontay's a guy who's been recently falling down these draft boards. I don't think too many people probably have this team combination, because it's tough to get Javonte to value now. Javonte's a guy generally going in the middle of the second here. And a guy, I mean, who would be, who would be a top, what, five running back? I mean, realistically, before Melvin Gordon re-signed, I had Javonte Williams as my RB4 this season. I could have even had him higher. I mean, I think there's potential to have him as my RB3 next season. He would be right in a tier. I don't think he would be alongside Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor, just because we haven't fully seen the ceiling yet from Javonte. But at the same time, I mean, you got Dalvin, you got Eckler. I think there's just less question marks about Javonte being a 22-year-old player in an offense with Russell Wilson and being the lead guy, the dog, in an insane offense. I would go Javonte personally as my RB. Honestly, three potentially. I think that's where he would be if Melvin Gordon wasn't on the team. So I think he's a fine pick where he's going. They're actually a pretty good pick. A guy I've grown on a lot this offseason. A guy I was pretty concerned of because I was realistically thinking this was going to be a 50-50, or not 50-50, 55-45 type of split because that's generally how the Broncos have operated in years past. Even when Javonte was a rookie, looking really, really promising. Melvin Gordon actually outtouched him on a per game basis because Melvin Gordon did miss a game and they ended up with the one carry away from each other. I think it was like 203 and 204. And then receptions were pretty much equivalent as well. So Melvin Gordon actually outtouched him or outsnapped him on a per game basis by a very slight margin. I think Javonte will outsnap Melvin this year, but I don't know by how much it's going to be, and that's why I am a little concerned with Javonte, but the ceiling is absolutely there. If Melvin goes down for any type of reason, Javonte ascends to become that top three back. So I think you're getting a potential top three back at a discount, but with question marks, of course. Joshua Palmer and Dobbs here. I guess I would probably prefer Dobbs because Dobbs has higher upside. But Joshua Palmer also has some pretty high upside. Now we're kind of in a position where value is finally starting to fall to us here. Thank God. And we have some decent wide receivers we can get. If Romeo Dobbs somehow does ascend to, let's say, be this wide receiver 2 in the offense here, or Lazard goes down for the season, somehow he ends up being the wide receiver 1. I mean, that would just be absolutely insane here. There is a path. It's a small path, but I think taking that rookie upside in a situation like this is fine. I kind of want to go Jahan Dotson here. Jahan Dotson, a guy who's been picking up a lot of buzz in training camp for one. And two, I mean, this guy's a first-round pick. Went 16th overall. The Commanders clearly have faith in this guy. Has built up a rapport with Carson Wentz reportedly already. So I'm fine taking him here. If not, Joshua Palmer's fine. Julio Jones is fine. Jahan Dotson, a guy I think is being criminally slept on right now where he's going. That is our second rookie with a Week 14 bye, though, but whatever, who cares? We're going to be rounding out this room. I mean, I'm going to be taking a quarterback probably in the last round here. Whether it be, I don't know, like Zach Wilson. I think Zach Wilson's an absolutely fine pick here, where he's going. Because, I mean, this is a guy who could potentially play Week 1. A guy who's going off the board at like the quarterback 22, 23 before the injury. and now he's injured, missing some preseason, but a guy who does have some rushing upside. Again, didn't even play a full season last season and got 185 yards for rushing, so he does have a little bit of rushing upside. Granted, some of that came on a 50-yard run, so it is a little bit skewed, but he has some rushing talent here. So that's why I kind of like him there. But where he's going, him or Wentz, we are just going to be really, really digging from the bottom of the barrel at this wide receiver position. We need to hit on guys like Romeo Doubs, John Dodson. Yes, we have Deontay Johnson to be that stable piece, but we need that high upside play, that deep bomb type play. We have it with Valdez, which is fine, but other than that, we really don't have it. So that's kind of the hope here. We do need it a little bit more. We got Fields coming off the board, Kirk Cousins. We're good with that. We want to see as many of these QBs come off the board as possible. It's what we need right now, pretty much. Because I'm fine waiting till the last round for a quarterback here. We got Russell Gage coming off the board. Isaiah McKenzie, a guy flying up these boards here, and it's not hard to see why. I think Isaiah McKenzie is a slept-on piece in this Buffalo Bills offense. We got Rashad White as well. Garrett Wilson still on the board. At this point, I mean, if Garrett Wilson falls to me somehow, because he is a guy who's been falling, I mean, I'll just take a bet on talent there. The guy's a very, very talented player. I think he will not have as much opportunity or target opportunity, just because the Jets' offense is not projected to be good. But I think it's an absolutely fine take there. I mean, because when the way I look at it, I mean, Drake London's coming off the board, pick 75 here, right? Drake London coming off at pick 170 or 75. Garrett Wilson coming off at 133. Situations are comparably terrible. Both have target competition in the way of Kyle Pitts and Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore might take a little bit more targets, but Kyle Pitts is an absolute freaking monster. So it is pretty comparable in that situation. Both have terrible quarterbacks here, so I think it is a pretty comparable situation. And yet Garrett Wilson's going, 60 picks later? I don't think that's entirely justified. Probably honestly should have gone with him over Jahan Dotson here. Just realistically, I think it's smart to do that. We do have Tua and Trevor Lawrence on the board. I think after Tua, there is a tier break here. So, I mean, if Tua does make it back to me, I will take him. Actually, no, I disagree with that. I disagree with the statement I just made. I've been getting higher and higher on Trevor Lawrence here. And the reason why, I mean, rushing upside for one. Two, this guy was a first overall pick. I mean, tank for Trevor was a thing. Tank for Tua was also a thing for a while. But Trevor Lawrence, I mean, he's got the talent to absolutely destroy in the NFL. Tua's got a better situation, but he doesn't got a better situation with his legs. And I'm all in favor of taking rushing QBs because the ceiling is just simply higher. And in a draft like this, again, I'm going for ceiling here. I'm not going for floor. I'm going for ceiling and ceiling only. Unless Deontay Johnson's a floor guy, but I'm pretty much only hitting ceiling here, so I will take Trevor Lawrence over Tua here, most likely. As long as Sugarwater does not snipe me, and he doesn't, I was kind of hoping to take Jacoby Myers, but it doesn't happen, so here I'm going to go KJ Hamler, another Week 9 wide receiver guy. We have so many buys on Week 9. Our team is going to be painfully bad on Week 9. It was good we went Trevor Lawrence here because this guy goes Tua. It might have went Trevor Lawrence and sniped just there, which would have been fine. We are getting a second or third year player now out of KJ Hamler, a second round pick here. I'm absolutely fine with that. I like this team build a lot, just a little nervous of wide receiver. So it does make sense. I mean, we're going to have to get 10 wide receivers here. We're going to need to fill in any volume we can at wide receiver. That's why I'm fine taking a guy like Van Jefferson, a guy who will pop off and randomly have, a 120-yard game with 2 touchdowns because he's a deep bomb guy. Van Jefferson's day-to-day, meaning he'll probably be playing Week 2, if not Week 1. Fine with that, whatever. We got Van Jeff here. We got Alec Pierce still on the board. Paris Campbell on the board, a guy I'm fine taking where he is. Even though right now he has been rumored to be the wide receiver 3 here. I mean, at that point, Alec Pierce, a third-round rookie, a guy, I mean, could easily not be the wide receiver 2 in this offense. I'm fine taking either of them, though, because getting a wide receiver 2 this late feels fine to me. Christian Watson, hopeful to play Week 1. Wow, I actually didn't know that. That's interesting. I hope he starts coming up the board. I mean, this is my most owned player in the entire best ball format here, Christian Watson. I really think Christian Watson is a steal where he's going. Absolute steal. I mean, this guy traded up to get him in the second round. Going could be the wide receiver 2 for Aaron Rodgers, potentially. I know tons of hype about Romeo Doubs. I'm hyped about Romeo Doubs, too. I'm 100% hyped about Romeo Doubs here. But at the same time, Christian Watson, second round pick here, a guy, yes, he hasn't been able to build rapport yet with Aaron Rodgers, but he's got the talent. He went in the second round. A guy I really, really like in redraft. A guy who's been kind of falling down boards, actually a ton. I mean, this is someone who started at pick 100, at pick 110, and is now going all the way at pick 164, and it's only continuing to fall. Uh, I'm fine scooping him wherever he is. I love getting him at a value. We are pick 167 here, so there is a decent chance he falls to us. He does not, though. Christian Watson does come off the board at 158, which is fine by me. I mean, we do have Dobbs here, so we are kind of hopeful that Dobbs is the wide receiver 2 for this team. Overall, I do hope it's Christian Watson, but we do have Alec Pierce here coming up to us potentially. We already have 2 quarterbacks. We already have 2 tight ends. Literally the only position we should be looking at right now is wide receiver. Since we do have Trevor Lawrence, I'm fine going Zay Jones as well. Zay Jones is a guy I actually am a little bit higher on now than I thought I would be. I mean, a wide receiver 2 in this offense, most likely. I think it's him over Marvin Jones. Alec Pierce comes up the board. I think it's him over Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones is just so old. Zay Jones showing chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. Yet again, I mean, that's pretty nice. What you want to see. I do think this Jaguars offense could be much improved this season now that Urban Meyer is off the scene. I mean, Urban Meyer, known as a laughingstock head coach. I mean, nobody took that guy seriously whatsoever here. I don't know a single person that's like, oh, he was actually okay as a play caller. He was an okay coach. I have never heard that once. And yet, Trevor Lawrence still not going high in the slightest here. Trevor Lawrence, a guy being put down boards as quarterback 18, a guy who's very talented. So I'm more bought into Trevor Lawrence than I was at the beginning of the season because I do think he will show strides, he will show improvements. And even if he's not good every game, I think in a best ball format like this where he does have legs, he will be able to show that he's at least a good wide receiver, good quarterback here. But I am going to call it a video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to be taking 3 wide receivers of my last 3 picks here. If you guys do enjoy the video, please give it a like. Please give it a comment and subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me. Football is starting up in 3 days. I'm super excited. I'm sure you guys are as well. Again, thank you guys so much. Have a good day, a good night, and a good life.